Good afternoon and welcome to Cinestan.com. And today we are speaking in conversation with actor, writer, director, and playwright Saurabh Shukla. Sir, thank you for speaking to us at
Thank you
Cinestan.com.
very much.
One question is, your characters have often been like the middle of the road characters. There is Kallu Mama and Satya. Around him, the entire episode functions. And there is Burfi. In Burfi, you had a brilliant character who's basically the sutradhar or the narrator for the entire film. Do you consciously choose these roles, or is that how it happens?
I choose my characters based on the script. When I like a script, then I choose the script. My first priority is to choose the script. And then, obviously, as an actor, I become greedy and I try and find out that what am I adding, my character is adding in the script. Um, and I'm lucky enough in last 4 5 years that I have found many characters which are important, where I could display, where I could do the journey the way I wanted to do it. Um, it happened in Burfi, then it happened in Jolly. Then after that, I've done Sudhir Mishra's film also recently called Aur Devdas. There also there's a very prominent character. It's the main antagonist of the story, and
The script is a facet that has constantly changed in Hindi cinema, particularly. And now, over the last 10 years, writers have found a new world. There are writers getting focus, and there is focus on content, and which has led to a rise of character actors. Sanjay Mishra, Piyush Mishra, yourself. You have found more prominent roles, and characters are playing an important part. Uh, how do you see this revolution in Hindi cinema right now?
see, the revolution happens in the market. It does not happen with the real people who create. Please understand, there were always great directors, great writers, they were always there. It's the market which is apprehensive of taking risk on a certain script. So that is the reason that we had a lull from the early 80s to, let's say, mid 90s. We had only more or less similar kind of films, similar kind of stories, and similar kind of palette we were working on. But at that time, there were many great directors and great writers. They were trying to say new stories, but the market was not buying it. So this whole thing, what people talk about, suddenly India has got writers and India has got filmmakers. It's not that. They were always there and they will always be there. It is the market which supports, because filmmaking is an expensive activity. You cannot make films without money. And when the sentiment of the market is tilted towards the newer kind of stories, then suddenly it happens. So what has happened that post Satya, I would say, Satya, because before that also there were many films, but Satya, because it was a critical hit also, and at the same time it was a commercial hit also. So that made the people with money, that made them think that, yeah, there can be a film like this and that can also bring their money back. And after that, a number of filmmakers tried very hard and did many films, and out of which many films worked, a number of films worked. So suddenly there is an acceptance in the money section of this the industry.
Which you brought back the topic of Satya, so I have to ask it. How was it when the first script came through and when you read it? What was your first expression or reaction to the script?
Well, first of all, you must understand that we were all young newcomers. We had no pressure, we had nothing to prove. And somehow we were all think alike people, right from the actors to the writers to the director himself to the assistant directors to the cinematographer, everyone who was there. And we all just wanted to make a film which we loved. Uh, so it was not a very planned thing. It was not very planned that will get critical acclaim or will break a new ground and open a new market. It was not like that. It was that let's just make this film. We had a script, we had a bound script, obviously, but I always say that people know that there are two writers of Satya. One is myself, one is Anurag Kashyap. The insiders know that there is a third writer also, which is Ram Gopal Verma himself, because the director of the film is always a writer. Okay, he doesn't take the credit of writing it, but yes, he's always involved in whatever he's going to direct. So that we all know that there are three writers, but there's another writer in the film, which is the fourth writer, which usually people don't know about Satya. And that writer was actors, because they improvised so much. They improvised so much. They created so many things on the spot that became, like the master touch in Satya.
You started off as a writer and you were involved in a lot of teleserials. You worked with Vijay Anand on Tehqiqat. So, as a writer, how have you seen the industry progress and how have you seen things change? Has the manner of functioning changed in the industry or is it still the same?
I'll tell you that I was never a writer. I never wanted to become a writer. It is out of compulsion I had to write. Well, if I start that, what I actually wanted to do, I wanted to make films. I wanted to direct films. But when I started this journey, I realized to direct, you must know how to write. So it was a compulsion that if you want to direct, then you have to write. So I started writing and people liked my writing. 25 years, out of 25 years, I have done just a few number of films as a writer.
Does writing influence you as an actor? And or vice versa, does acting influence you as a writer?
This question people get confused always. There are a number of variations of this question I have heard, and people keep asking that how do you do all three things? How do you act? How do you write? How do you direct? And how all these three things can you do together? And do you get influenced by the writer when you're acting, or when you're writing, does the actor influence you? This is one part. These are different rooms of one house, and in totality they make home. So if you're familiar with everything, everything influences everything else, and that is an added thing. It's not like that there is a clash. Actually, yes, because you act, so you understand the dialogues when you're writing, the lines when actors speak. The actors do have a problem, because if you give them very unreal line, which will sound very good while writing it, but it's an unspoken line, actors are thrown off because finally they have to deliver it. Okay. So when you are writing, the actor immediately stands behind you and tells you, "Ki boss, don't write this line because this is an unspoken line." You always take care of the thought of the writer. What has he tried to say beyond those lines, what he has written.
Coming back to stage, you started out from the stage after graduating from NSD, and even before you were doing plays. Then you had a break when you entered cinema, and then you went back to the stage. How has the transition been? Is there a fundamental difference between the two fields?
Okay, so before I answer this question, there's one correction which I keep making and it never gets corrected. I'm not a graduate from National School of Drama. I worked in National School of Drama as an actor, but I was in the repertory company. Yes, of course, these are two different mediums. They have their own language, but they're not poles apart. They're somewhat similar. So it's like the difference between a motorized ship and a small हाथ से चलाने वाली जो नाव होती है, there's a large difference. The way you maneuver it, the way you, but they both are of the similar nature. That way, theatre and cinema are very similar in nature, but then when you go deep in it, it is different.
You have brought a sense of realistic acting. There is this stream of realistic acting. The cinemas are focusing more on realism. Is this a positive change? Because we recently spoke to Javed Akhtar sir, and he said that there is a need for cinema to embrace the social realities of the period, and we still need to function on that. As a writer and an actor, do you agree to that, or do you see this change coming automatically? It will come with time.
I personally believe that the literature or any form of art, so is cinema and theatre, you can actually gauge a country by its stories. You can actually gauge a time by its theatre, poetry, you know. Now, so understand that it has a signature of the time, place, people, the kind of stories which are told. We in India, and especially in films, and especially the market, I mean, when we say we, it's the market which is actually making it and distributing it. So anything you talk real, maybe it's a problem or something which is very relatable, the first thing is they say that, don't trouble people. If any art form follows that it does not let people think and does not allow them to take anything back home and think about it, the art form will die. 5 years back, films were different. They were telling different stories. Now, after demonetization, you will see in 3 years, stories will change. I'm not saying that they will be about demonetization, but demonetization has changed the way we think. So, when there is a change in the thinking way, it has to reflect in the art. So suddenly you cannot do a 80s film again in 2018 or 2019 and say that, the both are valid, and then they can't be. So I acted the way, what I really liked, the kind of performances I liked, the kind of people who inspired me. So I did that kind of acting. But yes, you're right that today in the younger generation, the new filmmakers, they are tilted towards realism.
The last question which I have to ask is, what's the plan? Back to stage? How is it working out?
There is nothing called, for me, there is nothing back to stage, because even though, for 18 years I did not go on the stage, I did not do a production, but I was mentally always there. I was participating. Even if I did not come on the stage as an actor, I was still part of things which my friends were doing. So I was in touch with theatre. So there is no back to theatre. And when you say back to theatre, then suddenly people start thinking, oh, so is he leaving films and going back to theatre? It's not like that. I have only one life. And I'll do everything I want to do. That's it.
Thank you for speaking to us, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.